and tell all of your friends about what you're about to see, because we are so excited to share it with you. So, let's roll it.
It'll work. But I guess I'll never know. Ain't that a bitch? Let's run one more.
Well, I did not expect this to come out RTX this year. Talk about a welcome surprise. At 2023's RTX, Rooster Teeth announced that redvsblue will be releasing its 19th and final season later this year in the form of redvsblue Restoration. On top of that, series creator and Rooster Teeth founder Burnie Burns will return to play Church and write the series. Talk about a way to instantly get fans engaged in RVB again. Like, this is awesome, guys. Like, I know I haven't posted a lot of redvsblue content on this channel yet, but that was one of the best shows growing up in the 2000s and 2010s. For those guys who don't know, redvsblue was one of the longest running web series of all time as a machinima based on the video game series Halo, like the machinima that's this video here. But anyway, I really wanted to make this video as a huge fan of redvsblue to go over this trailer and just kind of reinvigorate the redvsblue and Halo fanbase again with this announcement. Anyway, hi, I'm Mr. Tapeball from the small YouTube channel Tapeball Productions. Today we're here to analyze the brief series prologue Rooster Teeth released for RVB Restoration and speculate on what may happen in the upcoming season. So the prologue opens with Church, literal Burnie Burns voicing Church in his Halo 5 form, which is pretty crazy because we never actually seen Church in Halo 5, save for some appearances in some PSAs, I believe.
Oh! I've got to get out of here!
What's with him? He looks like he's seen a ghost.
I don't know, but it's your role.
Oh, shit, right. How much gold do I need for another revive?
So that's kind of interesting. It's also interesting that he's in his Halo 5 form, considering, you know, Halo Infinite is out. You would think they'd be using like one of Halo Infinite's models, although there's not a lot of Mark 6 helmets available in Halo Infinite yet, so I guess it would make sense for them to use the Halo 5 form. I just hope they don't really use Halo Infinite's engine, because I'm kind of tired of Halo 5 RVB. That does not have a good connotation with RVB fans, to say the least. But anyway. So the trailer opens up with Church going over the simulated scenarios of the ending of Season 13 at the end of Battle of Chorus, which is pretty crazy because a lot of people think that's one of the perfect endings of redvsblue, right up there with like Season 10 or Season 6 even, or Season 5, or even sometimes Season 15 could be seen as an ending per se. But most people agree that Season 13 was the best ending, so that's a really good sign to be introducing that kind of concept again. But anyway, so he's going over trying to save the Reds and the Blues at the end of Season 13, but at the same time, his separate AI are kind of interrupting with him, and they're bringing up Allison, Tex's original message back when she was a human. So that's kind of interesting that they're bringing up that storyline again, since that was kind of concluded at the end of Season 10. So maybe they're bringing Tex back, perhaps? That'd be really cool to get all of the cast members back for the last season. But it's also kind of interesting with the AI. So this church must still be the Epsilon Church, not the Alpha Church, which is interesting to think about because technically that church died, or at least we thought he died, and that was supposed to be confirmed in Season 15, but maybe they're doing it again? Or maybe there's something else with the trailer going on that we don't know about. It's also interesting with the other AI aspects that appear, because Gamma is using a different text-to-speech generator, the same one like as Microsoft Mic, most famously seen, I think, with RB and the Chief, the voice of Master Chief in that series.
I am not talking to another AI. We are both talking to you.
I have to go.
Put that away.
Sorry. Hogback, you're poor. You can't afford stuff.
Sigh.
My.
I don't know why they changed it, but I guess it's okay. I mean, you know, Microsoft Mic, still very Halo and Machinima connected. But then it cuts to another voice talking to Church about how they're still going into the simulations and how he's going over what may happen with these if these simulations succeed. So that kind of hints that seasons 15 through 0 were all just a simulated scenario of what would happen if Church did one certain thing to save the Reds and Blues after season 13, which I think is okay, because most people don't like seasons 16 through 0. I think season 15 was okay, but that's just, I think season 15 was alright. I really liked the introduction of the evil Reds and Blues, the Blues and Reds. Even though it made some continuity errors, I still think that was a pretty interesting storyline, to say the least. And I would like to see them come back, because we know at the end of season 15 that Temple, Bucky, and Krona, I believe, survived. And I still think it would be cool to bring up those characters back to be more villains, or maybe have them redeemed in a sense. But anyway, so that's kind of the implication. But the biggest thing, and I haven't seen anyone talk about this on YouTube or anything yet, now a dark figure appears in the shadows and starts talking to Church, and it's in the Halo Infinite game engine, which is a good sign, and he's using the Reach armor core set. And if you look at it clearly in a scene, you could see that he's wearing EVA armor. Now, this is a huge deal, because the only big character in all of Red vs. Blue that has only worn EVA armor is the Meta, the greatest and most terrifying villain of the whole series. Like, holy crap, they're bringing back the Meta. And when Church is talking to this guy, for one, he talks to him like Sigma is still there, and later on, he references him as Alpha. So, does this mean that this character secretly is the Alpha, as in all of the AI combining with the Alpha at the end of season 6? They were not destroyed by the EMP or EMP, but instead were actually their metazation, their combination into one true human consciousness was made possible. Is that what they're implying here? Because they show Sigma's fire, but it looks like this is Meta's corpse or maybe body. But in the chorus arc, they say that Meta died, like he drowned.
Agent Maines survived numerous injuries during his time with the Freelancers. Most would have been lethal had they been inflicted upon any other man. However, in the end, 4 puncture wounds in his suit resulted in asphyxiation by liquid. He drowned.
And they recovered his armor, which Tucker uses at the end of season 13. So I don't know what this is, unless someone is just trying to replicate the EVA armor. Because we know also in the Chorus trilogy that Charon also says that the meta suit was being used as a template to make other expanded armor and weapons. So maybe this is what this is, or maybe it is the meta that's come back to life, or is just like a corpse in an armor that's being controlled by the Alpha or Sigma or all these AI. We don't know. But just the thought of bringing the meta back is amazing. But anyway, so the trailer continues on with Church and this character who might be the meta arguing about these scenarios and what they can do. And that's basically how it ends, with Church saying he has to do a decision that he thinks is too risky, but it's the only path he has left. And he says, just like at the end of season 13, you just have to have faith. So it looks like this is going to be a sort of retcon of seasons 15 through 0, which, like I said, I think fans would be okay with overall. But, you know, I mean, I like season 15. I don't know what's happening with season 14, since that's an anthology series anyway. And a lot of those stories were still good. So I hope they keep those in canon, per se, even though a lot of them weren't in canon. Going over with this trailer, I hope it introduces a lot of things. For one, we know that Red vs. Blue has already done some stuff in Halo Infinite's engine. Only really brief, short, like PSA morning videos that weren't really that great, to be honest. And those were made about halfway through Halo Infinite's lifeline, and you can tell the animation for the Machinima isn't really up to par, because Halo Infinite really isn't designed for creative uses like theater or Machinima And even Forge, it's kind of hard to use. At least in my experience, I think the Forge is pretty difficult to use. That's why I'm only making these kind of crappy sets here. So I think this would be a really good idea, because we know 343 and Rooster Teeth have worked together before. This would be an amazing idea for 343 to use the launch of redvsblue restoration to launch all of these new elements and returning elements into Halo Infinite, the game. For one, if they are bringing back the meta, they must bring back the brute shot in the game. For one, people already are really upset that they didn't bring the brute shot back in this game with the return of the brutes. Like, it didn't make any sense why they didn't bring back the brute shot in Halo Infinite, but they gotta bring it, at least just to have the meta use it, or to Griff use it with the Griff shot. They gotta do that. Also, I hope they we don't know what the reds and blues are going to look like in Halo Infinite. They still might be using the Reach armor core system like they've done before in those morning shows, or if 343 wants to be really cool, they can reintroduce Mark 6 for the Mark 7 armor core so that they can use the updated armors. Or what I think would be an even better idea, because they updated armor in Red vs. Blue before, have all the reds and blues update their armor for Mark 7 so that they can use their new helmet, because it would make sense because it's the legitimate Mark 7 helmet. But it would also allow Caboose to still use his Mark 7 version of Mark 5, which they've already shown in the series. Plus, Carolina could still use her recon armor, which they also already shown before. And they can also use this series announcement to reintroduce the classic shotgun. Even though they've already shown Sarge using the Bulldog, they gotta bring back that classic pump action shotgun, you know? Like, even, like, they just launched Infection and it's still kinda wonky with the Bulldog. Like, the Bulldog is not a great replacement for the classic Halo shotgun. But that's just my opinion. But to end this video, it's kinda sad that this is how Red vs. Blue is ending. I mean, Red vs. Blue has been with Halo since the beginning, and Halo Infinite has already had bad sales and sort of poor reviews and a sort of poor atmosphere around it since it's been released. And with the end of Red vs. Blue and everything going on with 343 and Halo and Xbox right now, it just really seems that it's the end of Halo overall with Red vs. Blue ending. And it's also a little bit upsetting too because of how restrictive and kind of empty Halo Infinite is for the last Red vs. Blue season. Like, if they don't reintroduce the brute shot or the shotgun or even playable elites, we're going to be losing so many core elements and cool elements of other characters. Like, I've always wanted to have Tucker's son Jr. come back into the show, but they haven't had playable elites since Halo Reach, which is very upsetting. I mean, unless they also use this show to announce the introduction of playable elites again, which would be amazing. But that's probably not going to happen, sadly. With Burnie coming back, and he hasn't been in the show since those old PSAs during, I think, Zero's run, or maybe before then, I don't remember exactly. But with Burnie coming back, writing the show, and hopefully reprising his role both as Church and Lopez, I feel like this show is going to end on a high note rather than the terrible whimper that was Zero. Like, Zero, I'm sorry guys, Zero was a terrible show. Action was pretty good, storyline and everything else, just terrible. I love Rooster Teeth, I love you, but Zero was terrible. I can't recommend that show. I can recommend parts of even 16 and 17, but I cannot recommend Zero. It's just not Red vs. Blue, and it's not Halo. Like, I hope they don't introduce non-Halo elements into Red vs. Blue Restoration like they did with Zero. Keep everything core to the game, or at least core to the Halo universe. Introduce some things that are actually believable in that universe. It's also kind of sad because we don't know if all the returning actors will come back. Like, I'm assuming Burnie will play Church and Lopez, but we don't know if Joel is going to come back to play Caboose because of all the controversy that came out with him leaving. I think because it was due to conflicting political beliefs. At least that's what they said. But it would be really sad if the show ends without the classic Caboose voice. Like, I know people might be upset with him, but you can't end the show without Caboose. He's pretty much the heart of the whole series. I just hope this show goes out on a bang, and it brings as much joy, tears, and happiness, and overall camaraderie that Red vs. Blue and Halo has always done since it's begun in 2001 for Halo's sake. I hope you guys enjoy this analysis and the speculation. I'm really excited for Red vs. Blue. If this video does really well, maybe I'll do a episode-by-episode review series of Red vs. Blue Restoration, but if not, we'll just see what happens. Maybe I'll do it anyway, because I like that show. And I hope you guys like this sort of machinima-mation sort of speculation and analysis. This has been Mr. Tapeball, and I'll see you guys later. Bye, I guess.